Do not adjust your screen. You are looking at Velveeta. It is going to be one of the main components of today's dish. This is a great, easy dip that you can make all year round. And it includes 32 ounces of Velveeta cheese, 2 cans, these are 10-ounce cans of Ro-Tel. If you don't have Ro-Tel, you can use diced tomatoes and chilies. That's all this is. This is just really easy to use, and quite frankly, I don't keep chilies on hand. These tend to go on sale a lot, so I always have Ro-Tel. I also use it in other recipes. It just makes life easier. And in this case, I have 2 pounds of ground beef. That's it, 3 ingredients. And these 3 ingredients put together properly will give you the greatest queso and beef dip you've ever had. Well, I like to think that it's the greatest one. We have this only a few times a year, and I put it together when I just need something quick and easy, something warm, and I serve it with Tostito scoops or any other kind of chip. But because it is substantial, you need a chip that's going to hold up. So how about we get started on making our beef queso dip. One of the reasons why I love this recipe is, aside from the fact that there's only 3 ingredients, including something that I can buy in a can that I could make on my own. Yes, this is a pasteurized recipe cheese product. I don't even go close to saying that it's actually cheese, but you know, once in a while, it's not a big deal. And this makes a huge amount of food. Serve it with Tostitos, like I said earlier. It's really easy to put together and use. Now, in order for this to work, you must brown your meat. The meat must be fully browned, fully cooked. You can't leave it and hope that it'll cook after. You want to make sure you have a nice hot pot that's going to fit everything, and you're going to brown your meat. It will take a few minutes, depending on how powerful your stove is. And you want to break this up as much as possible so that when you do add the cheese, you don't have big hunks of meat, but you have it evenly distributed throughout. So this is going to take us some time to brown. But if you start with a nice hot pan, and if you've used something like 80-20 or even 90-10 beef, the 10 and the 20 in these examples are how much fat is added back. You may not have too much fat to drain off afterwards. So we're going to continuously brown this. I'm going to leave it every so often, give it a moment, let some of it brown. Then stir it up again, break up those pieces because we want it to be fully cooked. Every last bit, we'll want to look at like this darker piece here, okay? And as we go, you'll see the whole thing will get there. Okay, so I have my flame on pretty high for my stove. It's about just about medium on my stove. And you're going to see some liquid come out. You're going to have some fat come out, like I said, depending on how much fat is incorporated in your ground beef. You're going to want to drain some of that off if, in fact, you have a lot of fat. So we're going to let this continue, and we'll come back when it's finished browning. So as you can see, this has been cooking, and nearly all of the beef is completely browned. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit. I'm going to make sure I've gotten as much of it broken up as I possibly can. And do you see all that liquid? We're going to get rid of some of that because it's going to make it kind of soupy. So I'm just going to take this a moment, see if some of that evaporates, while I feel around and make sure all the ground beef is in smallish pieces. Right? So we're going to drain some of that off. And then we're going to move on to our next step. Okay, so I drained off most of that liquid, as you can see by comparison, but I do leave some of it in there and some of that fat, because fat is flavor. I'm about to add a whole lot of fat to it. I've cut up our Velveeta, the 32 ounces of Velveeta, and I'm going to take one of those pieces at a time, and I'm going to add it in. And pretty much when it's almost melted, the next piece will go in. So the heat, and you'll see I'm going to break it up a bit with my spoon. You can cut it into smaller pieces if you'd like. This is, aside from the meat, the part that kind of takes a little bit longer, if you will. I'm going to turn this up just a smidge, because I think I let it get a little too low. And because it's getting warmer, I'm going to go ahead and add the next piece and start breaking that up. And you'll see as we run through how we get this to be super duper creamy. All right, so we're just going to keep adding pieces, breaking them up. I think if this takes you from soup to nuts all of 15, 20 minutes, I mean, this is literally something you can make when someone says, hey, we're coming over, and you haven't got a thing ready. You can have a quick, fun appetizer to share. You'll be surprised how many people are like, it's made with what? It's really good. So we're going to keep adding the cheese in pieces, and you'll see it'll start coating the beef, and it'll start changing this to a more golden color. All right, so we've almost got everything melted. And while it's working on that, it won't take much time. I'm going to go ahead and open both cans of Ro-Tel. And this is where you want to keep an eye on your temperature. You don't want it too hot or too cold. You see I barely have a bubble coming up here and there. But I still have some pieces of cheese, see that are almost melted but not quite. So give that a stir so it doesn't stick to the bottom. We're getting these cans open because this is our last step. It's essentially just getting the tomatoes and the chilies that are in this product to warm up with the rest of the sauce. But we want to make sure, and it looks like all of our cheese is melted. So I'm going to go ahead and add one. Get the lid out of this one. There we go. Two. You can add less if you want. I like it to be very tomatoey. And this is it. This is the last step. We're just going to incorporate this and then put it into a serving bowl. You can do those individually and, pass them out to people with some chips on the side. Or you can put it in a great big bowl and let everybody dip in. I like to serve them individually these days. I make a little bowl up, a little side of chips, and that's it. All right, let's go ahead and plate this up. Well, here we are. I've got my bowl specifically of Tostitos, but you could use anything that's, scoopable that you like. Just try it out. I like these because they're sturdy enough and I like the flavor. So we're just going to take a good ladle full. You can see it steaming. I love it. And that's it, the steak and all. So I serve this with a spoon a lot of times so that if someone doesn't want to scoop their chip in, which as you can see, you can easily do, I want you to try this because this right here is delicious.